The route nobody talks about. I've driven every kind of road in this country. Flooded Tulanes in Louisiana, icy switchbacks in the Rockies, dust-choked trails to Mojave. Nothing scared me. Not until Route 117. You won't find it on most maps. It's a 72-mile stretch of asphalt cutting through flat, empty farmland between two nowhere towns in the Midwest. Locals call it the Devil's Spine, but you'll never hear that on the radio or see it written down. They just know not to go there after dark. I didn't believe any of that crap. I'm not a guy who scares easy. 12 years in the Army as a motor pool chief taught me that most mysteries are just electrical faults, bald tires, or idiots behind the wheel. So when my old buddy Cal offered me a private delivery job, $5,000 cash to drive a classic '67 Mustang from a collector in Elkhorn to a buyer out in Melville, I didn't hesitate. One night's work, he said. Just take the car straight across Route 117. That's the fastest way. You'll make good time, Cal told me. Just don't stop. He said it like a joke. I laughed, too. The car was a beauty. Cherry red with a V8 rumble that made my bones vibrate. But as I got behind the wheel, I noticed something strange. There was a faint smell like old copper and burnt dust. Not fuel, not oil, just off. I checked the gauges. Everything read normal. Fluids, tire pressure, brakes, all solid. I've prepped Humvees in the middle of sandstorms. A Mustang on dry tarmac was nothing. I hit the road at 10:06 p.m., just as a heavy fog started rolling in behind me. The radio didn't work, just static, and my cell signal dropped the moment I crossed onto Route 117. No worries. I'd seen worse. About 15 miles in, I started noticing oddities. No roadkill, no birds, no bugs on the windshield. The silence was heavy, unnatural like a sound vacuum. The headlights seemed to struggle, barely pushing back the dark. The trees that lined the road looked wrong. I can't explain it exactly. They weren't moving, but they felt alive, like they were watching. At mile 23, the temperature inside the car dropped. My breath fogged. I tried turning on the heat, but the dial spun freely in my fingers. Then I saw the first sign. Not a road sign. This was something else. A man standing on the shoulder. He was dressed in black, barefoot, with his hands hanging limp at his sides. His head twitched slightly, like someone trying to shake off a fly. I slowed instinctively. Big mistake. As the car passed him, he turned toward me. Not fast. Slowly. Fluidly. His face was pale, almost luminescent in the headlights. But what froze me was his mouth. It was open, wide, too wide. His jaw looked dislocated, like it had been broken and never healed right. Inside wasn't teeth. It was just darkness. A pit. I floored the gas and didn't look back. By mile 30, the Mustang started acting up. The engine still ran, but the gauges flickered. The fuel needle jittered like a trap fly. The radio sputtered to life and then cut out again with a burst of static that sounded like screaming. I kept my hand steady on the wheel. No sudden turns. No braking. Just forward momentum. That's what they teach you in convoy operations. Movement is life. Something moved in the rear view. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light. The fog outside had thickened, clinging to the back windshield like frost. But then I saw it clearly. Shapes. People. Walking in the road behind me. They weren't chasing. Just drifting. Men, women, even kids. All barefoot. All staring straight ahead. Their faces had that same sunken, pale look. I wanted to believe it was just exhaustion. Maybe carbon monoxide poisoning from a leak in the exhaust. I've seen hallucinations during engine repair marathons. But this felt different. This felt real. And then the car jerked. Something hit the underside. I gripped the wheel, heart hammering. The car didn't stop, but I felt the bump, like I'd run over a small animal. Except there was no thump, no crunch. And when I looked in the mirror again, one of them was now closer, pressed against the rear window. I swerved, overcorrected. Tires screamed against the pavement as the Mustang fishtailed. For a heartbeat, the fog cleared, and I saw it clearly. A woman's face, eyes sunken, skin sagging like wet paper. Her hair was floating weightless, like she was underwater, and her mouth moved. I couldn't hear the words, but I felt them in my skull. Turn around. I didn't turn around. I slammed the pedal, engine roaring like a wounded animal, and pushed the Mustang faster than it had any business going. 80, 90, 105. Trees blurred past like charcoal sketches. The road didn't bend, didn't dip, just a straight line into the unknown. That's when the signs started appearing. Not billboards, not highway markers. These were handwritten, nailed to the trees. Don't stop. They see you. Mile 44 is the crossing. He waits there. I didn't know who he was, and I didn't care. I just wanted off this godforsaken stretch of pavement. But the odometer ticked up, and like clockwork, mile 44 came. And everything changed. The car stalled. The engine coughed once, then went dead. No lights, no power, just silence. I coasted to a stop in the middle of the road. No other cars, no wind. Then, from the darkness up ahead, came a sound that made my blood freeze. Footsteps, measured, slow, barefoot on asphalt, and with them, a voice. Not loud, not angry, just inevitable. You shouldn't be here. I didn't speak. My mouth wouldn't open even if I wanted it to. The fog ahead shifted like it was breathing, and then he stepped out. Tall, thin, wearing a suit that looked dry-rotted and water-stained, like it had been pulled out of a riverbed. His skin was gray, mottled, his hands too long, fingers too bony. But it was his face that did it. It didn't have one. Where a mouth, nose, and eye should have been, there was just skin, smooth and seamless, like wax melted over bone. Still, I could feel him watching me. The air around the car thickened. Every instinct screamed at me to move, but I was frozen in my seat like something had pinned me there. Then he raised a hand and pointed. Behind me. I didn't want to look. God, I didn't. But something made me. In the rear view mirror, the shapes were back. But this time, they weren't walking. They were standing still, lined up along the fog-choked road. Dozens of them, silent, watching. And between them, in the center of the lane, stood someone I recognized. My brother, Jason. He died 3 years ago in a drunk driving accident. Wrapped his Dodge around a light pole at 90 miles an hour. Closed casket funeral. But there he was. Oh, pale, eyes lifeless. He raised a hand and pressed his palm to the air behind the car, like he was touching the glass. I blinked, and he mouthed something. Stay. The man in front of the car stepped forward. I grabbed the door handle. Yanked. Nothing. Locked. I hit the switch. No power. He reached the hood, placed a hand on it. The engine roared to life. Without touching the keys, my foot hit the gas out of reflex. The car didn't move. Instead, the RPM surged. The tires squealed against the unmoving pavement. I was trapped. Then I heard something under the hood. Knocking. Like something was crawling inside the engine bay. I popped the hood before I could think better. Steam hissed out. But there was no mechanical damage. No loose belts. No blown gaskets. There was something else. Something watching me from the dark spaces between metal and shadow. A face. Small. Childlike. Eyes black as tar. Skin raw and stretched. It grinned. Then vanished. The engine choked again, coughed once, and the car lurched forward, like someone pushed it. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the wheel, floored it again, and this time, the Mustang moved. The faceless man was still in the road, but he didn't move out of the way. As the car passed through him, my vision went white, not from light, from cold, like being dunked in ice water. And then, silence again. The road was empty. The people were gone. The odometer ticked past 45. And for the first time in what felt like hours, I could breathe. I drove. Didn't care how fast. Didn't care where. I just kept the gas pedal pressed and eyes forward. The Mustang's engine growled steady now, like nothing had happened. But I didn't feel safe. The dark wasn't gone. It just pulled back, like it was waiting. I passed a green road sign a few miles later. It read, Exit 51, Melville 4 miles. A jolt of hope hit my chest. I looked down at the fuel gauge. Full, which made no sense. I'd already driven over 50 miles and floored it half the way. I should have been close to empty, but the needle was stuck on full. Not moving. Whatever. I wasn't stopping. I watched the mile markers, 48, 49, 50, and then 51. I slowed, looked for the exit. There wasn't one. No off-ramp, no streetlight, no change in terrain. Just more road. Straight ahead. I turned the volume dial out of habit. The radio hissed, then popped. Then a voice came through the static. Soft. Mail. Raspy. Missed your turn. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded, fishtailed, and stopped sideways across both lanes. Dust hung in the air. The radio went dead again. I sat there, heart hammering, sweat pouring down my back even though the air was still ice cold. The road behind me was pitch black. My headlights couldn't even cut into it. And then, for the first time in hours, I saw another car. Headlights. Coming toward me. Relief hit like a drug. I flashed my brights. No response. The other car didn't slow. It was a truck, an old, battered 18-wheeler. No company logo, just matte black paint, rust streaking the side. It didn't swerve, didn't honk, didn't stop. It was barreling straight toward me. I turned the wheel and floored it. The Mustang screamed as it jumped forward, tires clawing the road. The truck blew past, missing me by inches, and I caught a glimpse of the driver, or rather, the absence of one. There was no one behind the wheel, just an empty cab, and a passenger seat soaked in something dark. 5 minutes later, the road split. No signs, no lights, just a fork. Left veered into thick forest. Right sloped downhill, toward what looked like a flicker of lights in the distance. A town. I hesitated. My hands shook, but instinct said right. The Mustang obeyed like it knew the way. As I got closer, I started recognizing buildings. A diner, a gas station, a small church with a crooked cross. But the deeper I drove, the more I realized something was wrong. None of it was real. The lights in the windows didn't cast shadows. The neon signs flickered with no power lines. The open sign on the diner door swung in a wind I couldn't feel. I pulled over in front of a payphone booth. Figured I'd try to call Cal. Tell him the car was cursed. Tell him to shove the $5,000. I stepped out and instantly regretted it. The air tasted like mold. The phone had a dial tone. That surprised me. I punched in Cal's number. Ring, ring, click, but no voice. Just breathing. Wet, guttural, close. Then the voice came. You drove too far, Evan. My blood froze. I never told Cal I'd take Route 117. I never gave him the time I'd leave. And he never called me by my first name. The line went dead. I turned around. The Mustang was gone. I ran to where the car had been, but there was nothing. Just blacktop and silence. No tire marks. No oil drip. No footprints. Like it had never been there. I spun around, scanning the town. Nothing moved. The streetlights glowed, but they didn't light anything. Shadows bled into every corner. That's when I noticed the people. They were inside the buildings. Frozen. A man in the diner, holding a coffee mug an inch from his lips. A woman in the gas station, eyes locked with mine through the glass, mouth open in mid-scream. None of them blinked. None of them moved. Like mannequins mid-motion. I stumbled back and turned to run, but the town had changed. Buildings now towered above me, crooked and leaning like they'd been built wrong on purpose. The road beneath my feet rippled, shifting texture like wet cloth. This place wasn't just off. It wasn't a town. It was a trap, a memory of a town, a place built to hold something. And it wanted me to stay. I tried to run for the tree line, any direction, but the road just stretched further. No matter how fast I moved, the building stayed the same distance. I passed the same boarded-up pharmacy 3 times. I screamed, and something screamed back, a low animal cry. not human. I turned a corner and saw it. At the center of the square was a statue, or it looked like one. A towering black figure, 10 feet tall, humanoid but wrong, arms too long, neck craned unnaturally. Its face was blank, smooth like the faceless man on the road. But the statue breathed. Its chest rose and fell. Its fingers twitched. I didn't know whether to run or kneel. That's when it moved its head, slowly like cracking ice, and looked at me. Even without eyes, I knew. It saw me. The buildings around me groaned like metal under pressure. The mannequin people inside the glass started shaking. Their mouths opened in unison, and a sound poured out, not a scream, a whisper, thousands of voices, all saying the same word. Stay. I ran. I don't even remember which direction. I just moved. The buildings blurred, melted, twisted. The street became dirt, then mud, then crack bone, and then nothing. I was back on the road. No town, no lights, just Route 117 and the Mustang sitting in the lane like it had never left. Door open, engine running. I didn't stop. I jumped in, slammed the door, and peeled out. The road behind me stayed black. But something had changed. The air inside the car wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, humid, smelled like rot. The passenger seat shifted. I didn't look, but I felt it. Someone was sitting there. I kept my eyes forward. Mile marker 69, then 70. Almost out. The engine started knocking. The temperature gauge redlined. The headlights flickered. And then, in the corner of my eye, a hand, gray, thin, resting on the dashboard. Almost there. A voice rasped beside me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream, but I could drive. Mile 71. The road began to rise. The trees thinned. I saw the sign. Thank you for visiting Route 117. And then, lights, taillights, a gas station, civilization. I crossed the county line and slammed on the brakes. The Mustang stalled and died. But I was alive. Alone. I looked at the passenger seat. Empty. The rot smell was gone. I opened the door, stepped out, and collapsed on the pavement. It was dawn. Birds chirped. Wind blew through the cornfields, like none of it had ever happened. The sun was up, pale orange over the cornfields, dew clinging to the grass. A pickup rolled past, its driver giving me a polite wave as if I wasn't kneeling next to a haunted classic car with a dead engine and a head full of screams. I forced myself to stand. Every joint ached like I'd aged a decade overnight. The Mustang looked different in daylight, less threatening, like it hadn't tried to kill me, like it couldn't have. But I wasn't falling for that. I opened the hood again. What I saw nearly made me drop. The engine was pristine, like it had just come off the factory line. Chrome clean, belts perfect, not a drop of oil or grit anywhere. Impossible. And then I saw it, scratched into the inside of the hood, deep and deliberate, paid in full. My stomach turned. I slammed it shut. I checked my phone. 5 bars. Time, 6:24 a.m. I called Cal. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, man, he said like it was any other morning. You make the drop? I'm done, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Car's yours again. I'm not going any farther. He went quiet. Then, you saw them, didn't you? I didn't answer. Cal sighed. Yeah, I should have warned you better. But no one believes it until they see it. And I needed someone who could get it through. What the hell was that road? I asked, voice shaking. What did I deliver? He didn't speak for a long time. Then barely audible. Not a what, a who. And he hung up. I left the car at the gas station and walked 5 miles into the next town. Rented a room under a fake name. Slept with the lights on for a week. Eventually, I tried to return to a normal life. Got a job fixing trucks. Stopped driving long haul. I never touched a muscle car again. But some nights, usually after 1 a.m., I hear it. The Mustang's engine. That deep, perfect rumble. Sometimes, I see its taillights outside my apartment. Red. Waiting. And when I look in the mirror, I swear there's a figure sitting in my back seat, always watching, always waiting. The end. If you enjoyed this chilling tale and want to hear more stories that keep you up at night, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps me out. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a terrifying moment. Thanks for watching, and remember, some stories don't end when the screen goes dark.